YouTube, back at you again with another video. This time is going to be a little bit more honest and a little bit more, uh, transparent or whatever when it comes to IRL related stuff. Before I even get into it, make sure to do yourself a favor and follow, or actually subscribe. I keep forgetting that it's not Twitch oriented and whatnot. Make sure you guys subscribe to Holidays. Link is going to be in the description. You probably might see him in the comment sections. He's the one that actually encouraged me to make this type of video and so forth. I just wanted to, say thank you for all the people who have subscribed to me and, find my videos to be rather helpful throughout the time that I haven't really been uploading recently. But this is more like a way to connect to the audience along with my retro content. Uh, I just wanted to start out by saying, I can relate to a lot of particular circumstances when it comes to IRL and where we are currently in this generation, whether you're somebody who has a job that you're getting paid good, which is props to you, or anybody who's hasn't been working like myself and finds it very hard to actually apply for these particular jobs. I wanted to take one particular topic at hand and say that it does feel as though we are kind of living on this earth, to be able to get some form of income to be able to survive. It's more of a survivalist thing. And most of the time, when you're really configuring it in that particular way, you start to come into the realization to where, you're kind of like living either from paycheck to paycheck or living, just because of the fact of pay bills and not really so much of living in a high form of life because you're really supposed to live to the fullest, right? Because that's kind of like what's to be expected. But, when I was young, I had a lot of people give me advice, teachers, my parents, which, if you do have parents that really care, and you're young, and try not to be so hard on them and so forth because, a parent's advice is, very blunt and very true to its word. Sometimes I feel like some people kind of like take it to heart. They think that their parents are really doing them wrong. But I do agree you're with Hollard on this one. You're never gonna get a more honest output other than your parents. And sometimes, you know, not that they don't mean to be like that, but more so towards the fact that they really want to give you a transparent and more reality based opinion that is going to better you and strengthen your cerebrum to do the best things possible to enable that core aspect in life. Because, as you grow older, it does eventually get harder. And sometimes in certain areas, it gets easier, so you want to take that into consideration to, take as much advice and learn as much as you can because you never know when that actually is going to excel past its reasoning. When I was young, of course, I had great, teachers. I had great teachers. I had people giving me this advice, and I really wish that I had taken the liberty of the advice, from a certain standpoint because I feel like most times I don't really take their advice or I didn't really take their advice so settling. And I was young, I thought I, like all of us, really had like the world in our hands and stuff like that, which usually isn't the case. Had a good job, was paying bills, I had money on the side or whatever. Didn't necessarily think much to save it. And, as you get older, you kind of realize like that it's not too late, but that you could have really taken that advice to the next level, and it sucks because, you know, some of us, we're not a stranger to debt. Some of us are still in it. And, more fortunately than others, we're not necessarily in debt, but we kind of really want to be able to save money. And I'm not going to lie, I've worked for a good 10 years and I haven't really worked for a good six. And, you know, it sucks because I'm the type of person that I like to be out there. And I like to, work and get my hands dirty and get, just be able to be social. Because, as a human being, we're not designed to be around four walls every day. We just can't. We can't be around four walls every day. We have to be social. We have to be, you know, and some of us, we create we create an advisory to where we can be able to find sanctum in the things that we really do often that make us feel like we're in our safe haven. So we don't necessarily have to be social because we spend most of our life doing so. That's really not the principle. I think the principle is the fact that we, as people, we come into the realization to where we, have done things in our life and worked these bullshit jobs and have had people higher than us telling us, what to do. And some of us, like to a degree, we can't be told what to do. Like no matter what the circumstances are, we can't be told what to do because we want to be our own leaders. We want to be our own, and it gets to that point. Trust me, it does. You know, whether you're somebody who's an employee for a company or you're being supervised and whatnot, I get that way too. I've worked restaurant jobs, I worked warehouse jobs, and so forth. So, it gets to that particular point. But I think more of my principle is more so towards the fact that, what is really the point of, working? Because as you start to get older, you realize that it's not about working really hard, it's about working smart. So you can be able to devise that time into fields in which you could be able to enjoy and you could be able to make yourself I guess you could say like you could put that time into something better. My parents have worked for over 20 years. They don't enjoy it, but we have to work. When you have a job, you have a job and you have to work. You're either providing for yourself, providing for somebody, or providing for your family. Regardless of the circumstances, you have to provide regardless. And it sucks because some of us don't even want to wake up to go to work, and there's some people that go to work with very shitty attitude, a very very definitive definition to shitty attitude, or just really negative each day. Like they wake up each day like the world is crashing down on them each day, and it's like that's not really the way that's not the energy that you want to bring into work, or at least around people that actually want to come to work just to kind of make their money and so forth. And most times you don't necessarily bring good fortune or good karma to you when you react that way or you're that way all the time. And I'm not gonna really throw anybody under the bus and stuff, but I've had jobs where people would come into work being taking it out on people. And I feel like those type of people kind of really need to find either a sanctum to where they could be able to have their quiet entity and be at peace, or they need a psychiatrist. Because there's just no other fucking way to be able to describe that. So I think that like most people that are dealing with that are watching this video, props to you for being somebody's psychiatrist or at least ignoring them and getting your money because it is hard. It's hard. It's not so easy. It sometimes becomes like a bit of a clusterfuck because you have to deal with them each day. But most of the time, like we don't really necessarily want to work. We don't want to really put in this particular time, and it's not such a bad thing to think like that. It's more so towards the fact that we deserve something better. Uh, there's a better reality for us. When somebody says, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of working this 9 to 5 or whatever the case may be, it's not because they're tired of working at 9 to 5, it's because they would rather work a job in which is paying them good and, something that they enjoy, you know? So I think that a job goes on one hand and then saving the money goes on another because, no matter what it is, your money is just constantly going. Whether it be to bills or what you like, which, is another particular topic at hand because a lot of us, we think that we need a PC. We think that we need all these games. Look, digital form of games are becoming $90. We don't remember, like, if you game since the golden era, uh, you obviously know that games used to be $40, $60. They used to stay like that for quite some time. And then now it's like to the point where games are $90. Systems are $500. PC parts are becoming more. So everything's just becoming more and more expensive, over time. And I don't think that that's really fair for somebody who's working like minimum wage and stuff like that because they now have to save harder. And I do agree. I do agree with, you know, my parents, or at least those who I look up to. You know, it's really not about what you don't need. It's more about what you do need that's going to get you by. Because at the end of the day, that thing is only going to really last you for the moment. Whereas something's really going to, like, something you need is going to last you a lifetime. So you might want to really start saving and so forth and whatnot. And I'm not saying this like because I'm a guru or whatever. I'm saying this because, you know, for my own, you know, I'd be a liar to say that I didn't spend recklessly. At some point, I didn't spend to that degree or whatever the case is. I'm very fortunate that I have people in life that care to say those things because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, true friends are hard to find. Fake friends are everywhere. So you have to kind of pick and choose those things wisely, you know. If you have a very good eye and you have a very good sense for those particular things. Um, I love the variation of Hollett's honesty because he was able to portion everything out in one particular video. Sometimes I can't do that. Sometimes I have to, you know, kind of think about the wording. This is probably the only particular time that he has given me an idea to be more honest. And, you know, I'm happy where he's going, you know, and I think he has some solid points. And the only reason why I bring his name up in this video is because he's one of the people that, you know, has worked for the 12 years and stuff, so he can relate to his audience, he can relate to people, and I can relate to that type of stuff too, which is why I definitively tell you, or at least ask of you, that if you are younger, you know, and you have, you know, that time, you know, work for a place where you want to work at, do things that you want to do, you know, save and do those things. Don't make those mistakes. I'm not saying for us being in our 30s it's too late, but it definitely is a lot harder, you know. And the only reason why I want to be honest about those things is because, you know, not working a job for 6 years and having to deal with these things, of course nobody is uh I can't say perfect, but nobody is surprised of, you know, where we are currently. I'm not gonna, everybody knows this, like I'm technically on the spectrum. You know, I have, you know, reasons for not working, but at the same time I don't use those reasons to kind of stop me from doing the things that I would want to particularly do. I just think that as human beings we need to start appreciating our lives a little bit more and start being able to save this money so that way we could do what we want. Because when people say I can't travel, I can't do these things or whatever, you can. You know, if your sister's giving you advice, if your mom's giving you advice about saving $20, putting it in the bank, take that shit literal. You know, there's people that are able to go on vacation still and go on and do those particular things. And if you don't like a particular job, I know it's hard nowadays or whatever. I know it's hard to find something else, but you should never force your health and waste your own time. So those are things that you should be doing. And I know like you're probably, some viewer out there is probably looking at it like, the fuck am I taking my advice from this fucking guy for? He doesn't even have a job. Yeah, you're right about that. That is true. You're not entirely incorrect about that. But the only reason why I'm giving you that advice is because I worked for jobs that I didn't want to work. Like restaurant jobs are the worst. Restaurant jobs are the worst. They're not the type of jobs keen for a human being to work. And I feel like, you know, most of the time these motherfuckers really want you to do double than what you're getting paid for. And I think that that is bullshit to me. I don't think that's okay for you to leverage an individual based on what they can possibly offer to the environment or at least to the business, and you're not willing to make them at least like, how can I put this, you don't give them that value, you don't give them that appreciation. And I think restaurant jobs are the perfect area for that because, you know, they say that it's for starting, they say that there's a career behind it. Yeah, all those things are true, but you know, from my experience, at least my experience alone, it's been shitty. Like, you know, they have bosses to where they have this high school mentality, they have a certain group of people that they put in those particular positions. Then on top of that, they They try to make people feel like, you know, that they're less than, they're not more than. Human beings are all designed equal. There's no labels, there's no status, there's no nothing. So you have to take yourself out of that equation and understand, okay, well, this person is the same as me. But we don't live in that generation anymore. But I've had a time where, I'm a working class man, or used to be. I would show up to a job early. I would apply for overtime. I would do all these particular things. Hell, I would even take an overnight shift after a 12-hour shift is done. Um, Sometimes when you work harder than others and you don't ask for much or whatever, they take advantage of you. Sometimes even then, people jealous. Jealousy comes in all types of forms, you know. So, and I think that that's within every job. But I had one specifically for a particular individual who just didn't like me. Always, said things to me like made me feel like I was less than them because I had a disability or whatever the case may be. So, I didn't think twice about it. I just kind of took them to court or whatever the case may be, and it resolved its cases there because, if you know that you're capable of living amongst the normal masses, you don't tolerate any form of disrespect, no matter what it is, you know. So I feel like that is more appreciated in those terms. But yeah, getting back into, you know, is it really worth working? Is it really worth working in this particular generation? Are you wasting your time? Could you be working better? Are you just a slave amongst the masses? And the simple answer to divide all of that is that's what, America uh, distracts us to be. Because I feel like in America, when you are working class and you're not like amongst those people that are making money off of YouTube or whatever and don't have like that creative spunk or whatever the case is, the problem isn't so much of you and your creativity or what you have to offer. I think it's just the moment in time. When are you going to be able to have your opportunity? When are you going to be able to, you know, because everybody has an opportunity. Everybody, can be able to make money and do these particular things and so forth. I just think it's the time. And I just think that, it all really depends on what your niche really is. Whether it be working or whether it be doing content creation. Some people even do OnlyFans. But I think more so towards the fact that people in general, you know, they don't necessarily, they shouldn't have to work bullshit jobs. They also shouldn't have to really tolerate being able to make less money. You should always put your aspirations and what you believe in at a higher standpoint because then you'll get rewarded for the hard work that you do, for the time you put in, and so forth. That I firmly believe in. Is it going to take you time? Yes. But you should always do that just so that way you could have a free space in your mind to do what you want to do in your life. But that's it for this particular video. I do appreciate Hollett's input. I'm gonna link his video in the description so you guys can watch. I would definitely love you guys' opinions. I would really love your opinions. Let me know exactly how you feel. Let me know your relation to these particular topics at hand. um and yeah, just understand and know that you're a human being at the end of the day, and you're meant to live the highest form of life. And don't let anybody take that away from you. God bless you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. And yeah, guys, take it easy. Peace out.